All right, so there's been a lot of people talking lately about how Bitcoin treasury companies are this Bitcoin cycle's equivalent to like the meme coins or the altcoins or the NFTs of last cycle. And I think that this is just an absolutely absurd thing to say, and I'm going to get into why. And I think the obvious answer is no. But I mean, first things first, as usual, if you get value out of the video, like, subscribe, comment, check out the links below. So getting right into it here, I think that the short answer to that question is absolutely not. I think it's the exact opposite, to be honest. And there's two reasons for it. Number one is the ETFs hold more Bitcoin than the treasury companies do. And the ETFs are not going to go under, right? There's no way that the ETFs go under. So like, there's no way that IBIT is going to pull a FTX. Like, it's just not possible. I mean, okay, I wouldn't say 100% chance, but 99.999, barring some insanely unlikely thing, the ETFs aren't going away. Now, again, if there's a down cycle in Bitcoin, obviously some of them will sell off, the value will go down, but the ETFs are not going away. So that's the first reason why I think that it just doesn't make any sense. And the second reason is, actually there's more than, but there's two main reasons. There's several. The second one is MSTR holds, at the time of me making this video, over 607,000 Bitcoin. Of the top 100 Bitcoin treasury companies, they hold a total of 917,000. So MSTR holds about 2/3 of the Bitcoin of all the Bitcoin treasury companies. And why is that important? That's important because if you've ever watched Michael Saylor or Fong Li or any of them, they say over and over and over and over again that they are way over collateralized, right? When they issue one of their preferred strategies, for example, those are collateralized like 5-to-1, 10-to-1 with Bitcoin compared to the actual amount of debt they're taking out, right? So for example, if they have $1 billion of Bitcoin that they want to borrow against to buy more Bitcoin, they're doing it with they're borrowing like $100 million to buy Bitcoin, right? So that's not a risky move by any means, right? That's not risky by any means. If you and Michael Saylor also uses this example all the time, which is a very, very good example. If you look at FTX, for example, the reason they went under, well, I mean, there's several reasons, but the main reason is they were like 100-to-1 leveraged, right? Like MSTR is the opposite. They don't have any leverage, right? They have the opposite of leverage. So, and not to mention too, the quote-unquote asset that FTX was using was largely FTT, which is a token that's virtually worthless. Bitcoin is the opposite. It's the best asset on the planet. Now, again, most people haven't figured that out yet, but it's only a matter of time until that does happen. So the other reason too is even a lot of these other top companies, like if one of these other companies, like if they were doing something insanely risky, like I think we would know about it by now. But I mean, even if Marathon goes under, that's a drop in the bucket. Like there was I don't know if it was literally an individual the other day, but in the past week or two, somebody dumped like 60,000 coins. Maybe it was 40,000, but it was well into the tens of thousands of Bitcoin. They sold them like all in one sale. And the price of Bitcoin, I think it was like maybe down 1 or 2%. So like even if one of these ones went under, it would be like the market debatably wouldn't even notice it. Like it wouldn't even notice it. So the reality of the Bitcoin treasury companies is not only are they not adding risk to Bitcoin, they're actually doing the exact opposite, right? They're doing the exact opposite. And another thing Saylor points out a lot, and he's totally right about, I've talked about it before, but he's way better at explaining it than I am, is the altcoin people the NFT people, like all of them, like these are people that, not exclusively, but overwhelmingly don't understand finance. They don't understand investing, right? Some of them are, get rich quicker. That typically that's actually, I would say most of them, that's what they are, right? They're people that think they're going to get rich quick with their stupid altcoins. Some of them do that. That's why this stuff still exists, right? That's why Bitcoin isn't, Bitcoin one day probably will be like 95% of the crypto market cap. I believe they're at like 60 right now, but it's only a matter of time, right? And you look at every single major altcoin, go back since those altcoins came out, virtually every single one of them, Bitcoin is destroying them, right? Bitcoin's destroying them. And that's not going to change. And that's not going to change because the vast majority of these altcoins aren't decentralized, right? Which is an immediate, they should be dismissed and you should never buy them. And of the ones that are decentralized, you could probably count on one hand, maybe two hands, the amount that actually fall into that category. Bitcoin has such a massive first mover advantage that they're never going to catch up, right? They're never going to catch up. I mean, it's like saying, well, hey, like you could create your own Facebook tomorrow. It might even be able to have some other cool features, but is it ever going to catch Facebook? Very unlikely. So this is the other thing too. So like I said, long story short, this isn't adding risk to the system. It's actually making things better. And a lot of people, they might come back and say, oh, well, if it's so great, why is the price not going up more? And I would say, well, number one, the price is up over 100% over the past year, I believe. So not like we've gotten bad returns by any means. I think we're up like 15, 20% year to date, which also is pretty good. But the one big thing is we haven't seen nearly as much retail adoption this cycle. And I think it's only a matter of time until that changes, right? When you look at the Bitcoin treasury companies, like we're going to look back at this 5-10 years from now as a thing of beauty, right? As an absolute thing of beauty. And this is why I think MSTR is the best stock on the planet to own. Again, I could be wrong. Obviously, there definitely is a risk here. Obviously, I could be wrong, but given how far ahead they are, honestly, we're at the point to where I don't think it's possible. Like we are minting like especially by the time we hit the next cycle. Like there's not going to be enough new Bitcoin. Like if Elon Musk, like if he wanted to get to 1 million Bitcoin, I don't know if he could do it, right? It would be very hard to do it. And this is something that's not being talked about enough, is that eventually it's going to get to the point where everybody wants it. Now, again, maybe not everybody, but a lot more people than currently want it, right? A lot more people than currently want it. And these numbers just keep going up, right? These numbers just keep going up. And another thing that we have not seen yet, and it's going to be massive when it happens, is eventually there's going to be ETFs that hold the top, 50, 100, 200, whatever the number is, Bitcoin treasury companies. And those ETFs are going to be gigantic. Right? Look at how successful IBIT is. IBIT is like the third highest fee earning ETF for BlackRock. You genuinely don't think they're going to try and issue more of these kind of things that are similar? Like, of course this is going to happen, right? It's only a matter of time. And not only that, another big thing too is when you look at what Strategy is doing with STRD, with STRK, STRF, and now STRC is coming out soon. This is something that they're the only ones that are doing it, but it's only a matter of time until a numerous amount of other companies are doing it. And that's just going to make it easier for them to buy Bitcoin, because you can get, 7, 8, 9, 10% returns on a glorified bond, right? And it'll have a little bit of upside too, because you got a little bit of exposure to the Bitcoin, right? So who in the right mind is not going to own those as their fixed income? Right? Like you have a bond that's paying 8% per year, and it has some share price possibility appreciation as well. Like who in the right mind is not going to be buying those? Like I talk a lot about it's only a matter of time until people catch on to Bitcoin. It's also only going to be a matter of time until, like, why in the world are you buying traditional bonds that are returning 3, 4, 5%? Right now, it probably isn't even that high. Maybe I think what is Fed funds at, like 4.5, 4.25 right now. So you're getting maybe 4%, 4.25, maybe just over 4% on T-bills right now. Like, why in the world would you have your money in T-bills? Unless you need the money like, a month or two from now, maybe I could see that. But if this is money that, you don't need for, I would say even anything more than 4, 5, 6 months, like, why in the world would you have it in T-bills when you can get double the return, maybe even triple the return with very little extra added risk, I would add. Like, why would you not buy that, right? Like, why in the world would you, like, traditional finance advice is you got to have like, whatever the number is, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months of savings, set away for a rainy day. If you lose your job, you hurt yourself, you can't work, like something along those lines. Why in the world would you have your, whatever it is, 20, 30, 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000, whatever the number is, why would you have that sitting in a savings account getting 1 or 2%? I mean, a lot of the big banks aren't even paying that, right? Why in the world would you do that when you can get 8% on STRF or STRK or STRD? Like, why would you do that? It makes no sense, right? And another thing that people don't realize is go into a compound interest calculator, toss in there 8% per year, whatever, $100 a month, $200 a month, whatever it is, 8% per year for 40 or 50 years. It is an absolute thing of beauty, right? It's an absolute thing of beauty. You will get rich off your savings account, right? This is money you're not even technically investing. But you will get rich. Again, it's not going to be like, hey, you can retire off that chunk of money. But if you put 10 grand in there and you get 10% per year for 40 or 50 years, off the top of my head, I bet you that's, I don't know, $500,000 after 50 years, right? And that's money that you have for that's your rainy day money. Again, maybe you have to use it and you okay, whatever. But a lot of people don't end up using it. So that's just an example, right? So to sum everything up here, Bitcoin treasury companies, theoretically, yes, they could go out of business, but this is something like this is one of the most obvious trends I think I've ever seen in my life, right? I talk about all the time. A lot of times in life, success is simply a matter of being able to recognize patterns. Now, again, in hindsight, everybody can recognize the pattern, but it's being able to do it when it's actually in the early to mid stages, because that's where the money's made, right? Buying Apple today, yeah, you might do decent, but buying Apple stock back in 2005, 2010, yeah, that's where the money's to be made. And I think that, again, MSTR and some of these other companies, it's like buying Apple in 2010, right? I think buying MSTR is going to be the equivalent to buying Apple in 2010. Obviously, I could be wrong. Do your own research, blah, 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 blah. But that's what I think. And the reason for that, the overarching reason that this is good is because, long story short, Bitcoin is the best asset on the planet, the best form of collateral on the planet, and it's only a matter of time until the existing system figures that out. And when that happens, it's just going to be even more bullish for these companies. And not to mention, too, in the meantime, Bitcoin's going to continue going up 20, 30, 40, 50% per year, which is also going to be very bullish. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, please like, subscribe, comment, check out those links below, and stay tuned for more.